The KBEAR KB03 has been always in my ears for 2 weeks now, with more than 24 hours of total listening time. My main sources are the Arturia Minifuse 1 single-ended and the FIO KA13 4.4mm balanced connection. I have paired the KB03 with the Duno SNS ear tips and the Shell's stock cable. Disclaimer! My unit has been kindly sent by KBEAR in accordance to their giveaway I've won, but they asked me to post a review. The KBEAR KB03 is a tribrid IEM with an all-resin shell housing a dynamic driver, a bone conductor, and a balanced armature, which is honestly an enticing value proposition at its price. Poised to be an upgrade to the KB02, the KB03 claims to bring better bone conduction response and treble performance, one of which has been delivered. The packaging and accessories are meager at its price, even with the value quality of the IEM itself. Considering that TRN with its Shell IEM and Jaws IEM have much better presentation, accessories, and even the box around the same price. The unboxing experience of the KB03 was slightly disappointing. But this also shows that the trend for budget Chi-Fi has not yet changed regarding the packaging. The cable though was the worst offender of the included accessories for this IEM. It's not the sub $30 cable quality typical of KZ, QKZ, or TRN, but this cable should not be even in the packaging. The ear tips on the other hand is fine. I believe it is the classic KB tip. Now onto that shell. Just like the KB02, the KB03 is average in overall shell size and shape. It has some contours and a noticeable ear fin for stability inside the pinna, which is somewhat reminiscent of higher priced IEMs I've seen and tried. But personally, it's not sexy to look at or wear. It is quite girthy and wide. The nozzle though is average in width and length. I find this to be fairly average and fine for my ears in long wearing sessions, and have not felt the need to rest from it or adjust the fit. The seal is average to above average, though of course this depends on the ear tip. It should be noted that doing anything to your jaw like eating or talking or simply just walking or moving around will affect the BC driver inside, and you'll be able to hear it. It sounds like empty water drums. At least the faceplate colors look great. The glitters add character and makes it more pleasing to my eyes to look than at the KB02 that has a similar design too. Upon closer inspection, the BC driver is at the north side of the shell, the dynamic driver is at the south side, under but not directly below the nozzle, and the BEA sits in the nozzle for those concerned. And the nozzle is metal, features a metal filter. Finally, the sound. Onto the bass, specifically the sub bass. Like its predecessor, the KB02, the sub bass performance is quite good. Quickly resolving, transients not overstaying, but is slightly faster than average, and ample in volume and not overbearing or visceral. It also has okay authority and rumble, and does shine when the track really summons the sub bass. The texture is good, but I felt like the meager amount of the sub bass restrains its quality. The bass depth, though, leaves more to be desired. Otherwise, this is not satisfactory most of the time to my tastes as a bass head, but many like me will appreciate the cleanliness and clarity the sub bass leaves for the other frequencies as it avoids fuzziness. But all of this is masked and ruined by the mid bass when it comes in. In my later sections of my listening testing, I've compared the KB02 and KB03 side by side in order to discern the sub bass from the mid bass in most of my tracks. That's just how much this horrible mid bass interferes with my listening. Even if it's not accurate, the KB03 when equalized to the KB02 in its bass yielded a better IEM overall. This will be further explained. This is because of the bone conduction's effect on timbre and the overall sound. But first, I'd like you to try to imagine being in front of a mono-channel 30-inch subwoofer or similar, directly level with your head, and the tweeter on top of the subwoofer. You would feel the bass quite powerful. What the KB03 attempts here is how that would sound, at least what I think. But because IEMs cannot make you feel the bass in your chest, it makes you feel it in your eardrum instead. I kid you not. But hearing the KB03 made me twist my face to the greatest degree than any other bad performing IEMs I've ever heard. Not even the honorable mention QKZ Hades or the KZ Murga prompted a strong revulsion like this. Vocals are the most negatively affected, especially my favorite Japanese singer, Nolu, sounded like she's singing in a bathroom with a gain boosted, distorting her vocals. It's almost as if I was the one singing instead. I'm a particularly bad singer. It almost made me cry. Or maybe, hopefully for another better example, bongo drum focused tracks, or bongos in general, you'll be able to hear it very distinctly, and it can be distracting. When the bongos are in focus, you become the bongos. Pianos and stringed instruments playing in low notes and keys will sound abnormal with too much weight. Basically, the mid bass is in your face as it is literally in your ears. Bass guitars sound very strange and very hollow, as if someone boosted the volume of an amp to the max and placed that amp in another room. And that applies to a weaker degree to other instruments in this region. Because of this, sub-bass performance is masked by the monotonous mid-bass and makes every kick drum, snare, and any beat sound too visceral and static. The only saving grace for the mid-bass, the one genre I found to whimsically enjoy the KB03 is funk, but it's funk. Perhaps similar genres might have been the better pair for it, but generally, this is a very niche, if not bad, non-versatile set. I especially enjoyed Daoko's Mad album with his set, and I guess the Bone Conductor is quite noticeable at work in and out of the ear. It really does move and dance, but it is very exaggerated. Okay, let's take a deep breath and move on to the upper mid-range in the treble, shall we? Apart from the aggressive BC implementation, the difference of the KB03 from the KB02 is the upper mid-range. The KB03 has a good upper mid-range presentation that is ever so slightly less harsh than the KB02. The KB03 is slightly smoother, yet still providing clarity. Well, that's without mid-bass interference and energy to the vocals. To my dismay, I like the KB03 more than the KB02 in this aspect. Dismayed because this better quality is accompanied by way worse mid-bass quality. I can't move on. Anyways, the vocals are presented slightly more restrained, but still retains its focus in its tuning. But I still find vocals in it to sound thin, slightly sibilant, and sometimes streaky, losing control in very busy portions of the tracks, just like the KB02. Cymbals, electronic, and similar treble elements sometimes lose composure and ride above the vocals, but they decay just in time for my tolerance. Technicalities remain above average for an IEM, even for its price. It is also easy to drive, layering is clear, separation is good, and imaging is adequately sharp and precise. And soundstage sounds appropriately wide but not airy. Frankly, nothing is notable for the KB03's treble. What's most surprising, however, aside from the weird timbre of sounds, is that gaming with it was not particularly bad or notably good, though it leans to a bit too distracting, the mid-bass again. It performs just as well as any other IEM otherwise. The KB03 will be something that could have been, but shouldn't have been. As a surprise, the tuning is frankly almost atrocious, personally atrocious though, and the inclusions and presentation does not help one bit. I cannot recommend this IEM to anyone, as I would not wish for anyone to hear the worst of this hobby, not even my worst enemy. Okay, maybe this is exaggeration. I could only imagine someone who enjoys viscerality, funk, and similar genres to it to enjoy this. But there are way better options. And to those curious, don't be curious anymore. If anything, I'll point everyone who is looking into this to get the KB02 instead, and equalize that to the KB03. So in that way, the stock tuning remains acceptable, and you get to experience what I experienced. No, I'm just kidding. Don't experience what I experienced. Thank you very much for listening to my review, and I hope it was helpful. Please feel free to leave any comments, questions, and feedback for the video. Now, it's time to gain out. What was that? Mid-bass?